Today's video is going to be something different. It's just going to be like a personal thing, just kind of tell you who I am. Um, I don't, I'm not saying that you should listen to me, but if you're wondering like what sort of credentials that I have, um, that's kind of what this is going to be. Just to explain a little bit of my life story, where I've come from, what I'm doing. Um, if you're just here for the helmet, check out what I'm building here. It's really super easy to just jump through the timestamps, fast forward, put this on, 2, 3x, play it, fast forward. You can kind of see how the helmet turns out. Lots of people have done this. You can check out other videos for that. I kind of wanted something to overlay it on. And I just kind of wanted to explain a little bit about myself and tell you who I am, if anyone has any interest in that. So I'll get this video going here. And that's my Opera helmet. I really like that. The only thing I don't like about it is the air pack is a little bit bulky. But cost benefit was definitely pretty high on that. I picked it up for fairly cheap. So I'm curious, why is that blurred out right there? Anyways, what is that? Is that my winch? I don't know. Anyways, so I'm not saying like, you know, that I'm that experienced or that I'm the best guy in the industry. It's far from it. I honestly don't even really think all that highly of myself. The reason I got into making videos was because it's frustrating. I worked as a heavy duty in a few different shops, and if you're in the industry, we use Google and YouTube just as much as anyone at home does, really. A lot of times now, especially now, that'll probably might even be your first stop. Check the forums, that sort of thing, even before you check the service manual. That's interesting. Everything Reddit blurs out. Weird. Anyways, sorry, the quality, I gotta apologize for the quality of this video as well. I had some settings wrong on OBS, and yeah, it did something kind of weird. So yeah, just a little bit through the heavy duty there. um, so the reason I started making the videos was I whenever I'd come across something that I just could not find any information on, like let's take the telehandler wet brakes for instance, how to pull a axle apart on a telehandler, just no information whatsoever. And I was like, okay, well, I've got all this splayed apart here, and I think I can make it would be really easy for me to make a quick video of this just to show you the PowerPoints of this, and really help a lot of people down the road, and for fairly low amount of effort. That's before I was really doing the editing and learning all the editing tools, and the making the thumbnails and making a crisp, clean, nice, coherent video. That is super, super difficult, time consuming. It's a lot to learn. But now that I'm over the hump of it, like I can process videos fairly quick, like usually a half hour to 2 hours for most of my videos. Some of them get quite a bit longer. I'm past the point of just uploading them raw anymore. I like put a little bit of a finish on them, try to make it a little bit more professional and presentable. But yeah, so that's kind of why I got into it. But I'm definitely not the best person for making these videos. Like, I've had a little bit of a checkered past, and I kind of got the drinking under control, and then I kind of just needed to do something to do with my time, and I started kind of going into isolation quite a bit, because it's hard being out in society when you're trying not to drink, because everyone not only is drinking everywhere, just everybody wants you to drink. I don't know what it is. It's like alcohol and food. People are obsessed with trying to force it down your throat. I don't know why it matters to you what I'm eating or drinking, but it's crazy. It's people, you notice it a lot once you change your lifestyle up. People just become obsessed with trying to force things down your throat. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why people care, but they do. So I know it's more fun, like, you know, to have the social environment with the booze and the food. I don't really understand, but it is what it is. So, you know, I've kind of recessed from society, and you know, it had some dark times. Kind of got into video gaming just to kind of burn up some of my time, and you know, it was and you know, it just didn't really have a lot of money, so it wasn't like I could, you know, I was always wanting to get out and work on stuff, but I just really wasn't able to. I couldn't really afford to. So I really got into like scrap recycling, trying to find what I could on a job site, trying to use those materials around the house, do renovations, you know, patchwork, whatever I could, and that would keep myself pretty busy. I was always really, I've, you know, especially after like the windmills, I'll get into like a little bit of my resume in a second, but especially after the windmills, just seeing how much like brand new stuff, perfectly good stuff, like how wasteful the process was, how much good stuff was just going in the dumpster. And then you'll find a lot of places, it's just like they don't even really let you take stuff out of the dumpster. My cousin worked at a landfill for a while, and he'd say there'd be like security guards there with some of these bigger companies to make sure that this throwaway product that was still a lot of times perfectly good would actually get crushed and compacted and destroyed, and that nobody would be taking it out of the landfill, which is kind of crazy. It's just, but that's, you know, part of liability and you know, the whole works with however all that goes. So, yeah, so I, you know, and I'm, you know, but you know, I'm a bit of a ragtag guy. I don't, you know, I don't have really that much experience. There's so many other people that have so much more knowledge and experience than I do that could be doing this. The fact of the matter is they're not doing it. It's like with that telehandler axle. They're not making the videos. At least, so, you know, I'll put, you know, maybe it's not the greatest video, but I'm putting some kind of knowledge out there so somebody can kind of get some sort of helpful, some use out of it, make their life a little bit easier. And I started getting a lot of fulfillment, a lot of enjoyment from that. So I just started making a lot more videos. You know, I kind of got heavy into crypto for a while. Again, there's no information on what we were doing, so I was just trying to get some info out there to help people out, and it kind of snowballed for a little while there until it didn't. And then you know, I kind of got bored of that and got back into making these videos. And now that I had a little bit more money, and now that my life is in a bit more comfortable situation. And again, that kind of got me into a phase where I quit working even more, kind of started receding into this solitary lifestyle even more. When I could have been out there just learning and working and doing stuff, it makes me sad how much time that I've wasted. Not even with video games, like the you know, the experience that I've gotten from video games is actually pretty useful in some aspects. You know, obviously that time could have definitely been well better spent, but let's say operating this sub-arc machine, for instance. Like, I can fly that thing like a drone pilot. Like, I can operate it smoother instantly. I picked it up in the first day. I learned the entire process by memory in the first day. It was so easy compared to some of the other stuff that I've had to learn, like frickin' CNC brake and CNC plasma table and all this stuff that just used to break my brain. I thought it was going to give me a heart attack. It was so stressful trying to figure out some of this. And it was old, you know, it was old equipment, old software, very cumbersome stuff to try to operate and learn, trying to operate the robotic pipe cutter and learn all the frickin' workarounds that you had to do to cheat the pipe dimensions and just everything all at once. It was just crazy. It was so stressful. And then trying to, you know, learning how to operate a freaking sub-arc robot for doing big tanks was just like no brainer. I was just laughing the whole time. Wasn't even watching what I was doing. I was BSing with the guy that was training me. I picked it up instantly. But that's kind of nice. That's what it's kind of nice about being put in those high stress situations. You know, it does make things easier after that, right? So, you know, I just want to talk a little bit about people that are far more experienced than me. We'll take one of my recent former employers, the place that had all these robots and CNC equipment where I learned a lot of this stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of older equipment. It was cumbersome to operate, but I got tons of great experience from it. And life is just easier now. Like, I just cakewalk through things like that afterwards because of that high stress, very difficult situation. And those guys that I was working with, they're the ones that should be making videos. They're the ones that you need to be learning from. They're the ones that have the great knowledge. But they're just not making the videos. Like I remember him telling me, one of them telling me stories about when they were preteens, and they would, and welding, and standing on stools to operate the lathe, you know, unsupervised. Just, it wasn't any big deal to them. They were skilled operators before, they were even a teenager, and operating equipment. I remember a little bit of that because I grew up on a farm. I was operating a tractor really before I could barely even walk, right? Like, sitting on grandpa's lap, functioning, everything, having him get me out there, working with him pretty much every day, right? So you get so much of an advantage, growing up in an environment like that. And even the very short time that I was out on the farm before we sold it, just that sense of independentness and being on your toes and watching your environment is something that you carry with you through the rest of your life. So sitting on the couch and, especially through your teen years, is just, and just watching TV and not getting that, building those, mechanisms of coordination and self-awareness, environmental awareness, and social awareness, and those sorts of things. Now, social awareness was something I was a little bit deficient on because I was so solitary out on the farm. But nevertheless, it's, you can't have everything, right? It's kind of like these, people that I were working with, previously. They are like top notch when it comes to fabrication, but some of their social skills are a little bit lacking. We're just gonna say, so, great people, though. Great people. It's just, they could have been a little easier to work for. Maybe I'd still be there, but like I say, it is what it is. You can't have everything perfect all the time, right? So, we'll talk a little bit about my resume. I guess I'll just, breeze over some of the stuff. Like, very first off, I think my first job was actually like tree trimming, pruning, stuff like that. Then I was at McDonald's for a while, manager right away, worked at that until about I was 18. Got into meat cutting after that, meat wrapping more or less. I was kind of learning how to be a meat cutter. Wasn't really for me. And then I got into my first trades job, I think at 19. And that was doing extremely high-end, like Bill Gates, Steve Austin, pro wrestlers, actresses, these mansions out in the mountains, and doing the stone on them, super high-end stone masonry, full bed stone masonry. And I did that for about a year. I didn't really get that much experience on the tools, working with the stone, but, just being out in that environment, operating the equipment, just kind of watching how things work, learning some of the tricks along the way, learning, seeing some of the quality standards, and then just the most beautiful place in the entire world. I remember driving up through the clouds to get to the job sites, because a lot of these places would be like right on the top of the mountain, and then just looking out through the ocean of clouds and just seeing the tips of the mountains pop through the clouds. Just the most beautiful place in the entire world. Could have easily done that for the rest of my life if, had been a change of circumstances. And then coming, back to where I am now. And then, just sort of some dark times after that with, got back into the drinking heavily. And then, working some welding jobs, some masonry jobs, got into commercial, got lucked out again, got into because, you can go into, most of the masonry jobs out there, let's say, are like these low rate residential jobs, just doing this quick bang it up stone, fake stone. Even if you're doing high, it could just be a bad employer. A lot of these residential jobs aren't the greatest. I got lucky. I got into a very reputable commercial masonry job, and then I got basically picked from another bigger company, and then worked there on and off for probably 10, 12, maybe more years. Again, doing very high-end schools, police stations, fire stations, warehouses, all kinds of great stuff. It was a great experience. Really enjoyed doing that, but it was really hard on my body, and for whatever reason, I was really never able to work myself into a foreman position. I was almost felt like you were kind of suppressed in that industry because obviously, everybody wants to be a foreman, right? In all honesty, I kind of didn't really want to, so I didn't really care that much. I didn't push for it that much. Again, same thing with the tools. Everyone wants to go from labor, be on the tools, and it wasn't really. I didn't mind floating back and forth that much, so I was never really pressed to get my ticket or. I didn't really care that much. I was pretty comfortable, pretty friendly with the owners of the company. So, and they would always compensate me with all kinds of leftover materials and help me out with, with things if I ever needed anything. So, there was, I didn't mind really that much that I was, and I never really wanted to be that guy that was just like, I'm just going to lay the block and, the laborers can do their own thing. That was not really how the industry works anymore anyways, but, I was definitely off the tools probably more than I was on the tools, and I probably lacked a lot of the experience necessary to get that foreman position because of that anyways. So my body broke down pretty badly because I was just doing the worst of the worst jobs, and I was doing them as hard as fast as I could, right? So I knew the end was coming with the masonry. I could probably milk another 5-10 more years out of this body, but then what, right? Like I'm going to be, hopefully the technology of the medical technologies advance quite a bit, maybe, and I can get some of these issues fixed. But if they don't, if I can't afford it, if it doesn't become mainstream, then I'm left with this broken body, and what do I do? So I got back into welding because I'd also done that on and off from my early 20s. Again, got super lucky, got into a company that was building drilling rigs, diesel electric doubles. We had big contracts for Saudi Arabia. Oh, you could see me just smashing my hand here. God, that hurt. That is, jeez. Anyways, did those diesel electric doubles. Did built drilling equipment for a couple of years. Even after that company kind of shut down, did some art projects for that company for a while. They had a lot of troubles with quality control, so I think they finally ended up going under. They were open and closed constantly, and then I went for another company, did a little bit of drilling equipment, building drilling equipment and handrails and stuff, whatever, for them. And then a lot of prototype stuff, which was really kind of cool working on. Got a lot of good experience from that. And then in between that, just working as like a temp. Working as a temp is a double-edged sword. It's like, it's so great because you're getting so much good experience, but they just rake you over the coals for the wage, like what they're getting compared to what you're getting. Like, I know they have to make a profit, but it's so hard to work for those wages. I love working as a temp. I think it's so much fun getting out there, doing something different, maybe sometimes every day, or doing different companies every few months, or getting into these companies that would never otherwise consider touching you, and then and having a chance to get through their doors, to see what goes on in like these super massive companies like United Technologies, right? Like it's crazy. It's such an awesome opportunity. We're just going to restart this a little bit back here because it's going a little bit long, so I want to try to wrap this up in a sec here. And aside from the temp work, so it's just like I can't even get into all the crazy stuff I've done from like temp work, but there was trucking. Was doing trucking pretty, got in some great trucking stuff, did some stuff out in the oil patch, which just was not for me because it's just, we'll just say I got a little bit of a temper sometimes. I don't like being disrespected, and, it's a little bit of a issue out there, right? Especially when you're just inexperienced, walk on and, get a little bit older. It's hard taking some of that disrespect, which is just flying every direction. There's a lot of politics out there. I wanted my buddy's truck out on this rig. I don't think you should be here, and you didn't give me the little trinkets. Oh, the trinket game. Oh, the trinket game used to piss me off. The little lighters and the gloves and all that little crap that you have to dough out to everybody, and you got to make sure you don't give too nice of a stuff to that guy because you only gave this to this guy, and he's going to get jealous. And these little stupid little trinkets that you had to hand out to everybody for, company promotion and whatnot, and they just ate it up. It was like their life depended on it. I hated that stuff like that, like the politics and yeah, I absolutely hated working out in the oil patch. And and it was, it was kind of interesting. Like, I was vac truck driver, so it was cool, it was fun, it was interesting. But the 24/7 on lease stuff for 28-day holes, and then it was the sleep situation was crazy. Like, I don't know how you could not do that without drugs. I was just using coffee, and that was not strong enough of a drug for me, and I could just tell how unhealthy it was for me to stay up for that much of a time. Logbooks be damned, there is no such thing. Anyway, so there was a lot of other trucking stuff I did. I did a lot of repairs. I worked in a few heavy-duty shops, some agricultural shops. Did a little bit of Super B work, so I did hauled a little bit of Super Bs just around town, doing test runs, gravel haul, asphalt, a lot of concrete stuff. Pretty, fairly extensive resume for, what you a lot of diversity in there. I wish I would have been working more often instead of maybe taking winters off sometimes. Just sitting around playing video games. I'd probably be a lot financially and skill wise. What I'm kind of doing around my place is I don't even know anymore. Like, I kind of wanted to get into develop property. And, a lot of this equipment that I'm building is to, at the bare minimum, be able to develop my own property. Because I did like the cost, benefit on what it would be like to build my own concrete little batch plant with that ready mix tank. And it'd be, because there's so much, like, I hate weeds and grass and all that, so I just want to concrete all my property anyway. And then I know a bunch of people, like friends and family, that need a bunch of concrete work done too, which I'm not really going to make much of a profit on, but it's sort of just a friendly thing. So I know I'm going to be able to pump like hundreds and hundreds of yards through this, hopefully, if it lasts, if it works decent, and then make a little bit of money maybe out of a business off the side of it too. I would like to get a business going, get everything legitimized, and get a little bit of a piece of property I could operate this business off of, build a shop, get some of my solar stuff going. This would be great stuff to do. But it's just like, okay, should I focus more on property development? Because I do have an empty lot next to me that I could develop a house on and make a little bit of scratch that way, but I kind of need that space. And the money that I would make off of the home, building the home, wouldn't be that great because the property values are high where I am. So it'd be more beneficial. The building materials are going to be the same cost whether I build it in the city or out here. So it doesn't really make sense. There isn't that much profit to be made off building a house here. Or should I focus more on just my welding career, this company that I'm working for, this big company that I'm working for that does have, advancement potential. It doesn't have to be just for welding for me. I could work my way up through the system, work in other countries. Or should I focus on maybe be pressure welding? I'm a great welder. I feel like I'm a pretty good welder, I've got all the processes down. I picked up welding in high school, like, instantly. Again, first day, doing oxyacetylene welding. That's the only thing our teacher would teach us. Like, the hardest thing you could possibly do is welding with a welding torch, like a TIG, with filler metal. And it's not brazing, it's welding. We're using TIG rods. And instantly picked it up. Not just throwing away good coupons. Everyone's taking my coupons out of the trash and turning them in for passing grades. I'm a super good welder. I could do really high-end welding if I found the proper opportunity for that. Or mechanics. I was an okay mechanic. I don't really care for it too much. Don't really think I'd get back into bricklaying, but if I could run a company and get some decent guys to work for me, I know the industry very well because I used to ride with the president of the company most of the time and listening to him talk over the phone to all the suppliers and distributors and the contractors. And, I know the logistics of it very well. And that was kind of my specialty anyways, was like being the staging guy. Like that's kind of why I spent so much time laboring, is because that was kind of my thing, was to be able to get the job site set up the most efficient way, being able to get the material staged the most efficient way. I would show up a couple hours early, and that's the biggest thing with bricklaying, is like there's so much time of guys just like standing around waiting for things, and laborers are terrible now. That's the other reason you get off the tools so much, is because most bricklayers have to do most of their own laborers now. You might have some jobs where you don't even get a laborer. All the bricklayers are doing all the laboring. So I could stage jobs so well that there was no reason for anybody standing around at any time. I would stage materials so they're more ergonomically comfortable, and you have less injuries. They'd be able to lay the materials faster. They leave at the end of the day. I clean everything up. I get things ready for the next day. We're never running out of materials. That was my thing. That was my shtick. So if I'm running my own jobs for my own company, if I had some guys to work for me, I feel like I would be able to do fairly well, because I've seen all the mistakes that the people that I were working for were making, and I'm like, I don't even know how you're making money. This is crazy. You're having these big mistakes constantly, and it's just for the stupidest reasons. You would sometimes see guys put stuff up and know that it's wrong, and just because it was too much of an inconvenience to even go look at the prints and figure out how to put them in properly, and we're so far behind that we just need to get this up. We'll come back and deal with it later. We know it's wrong, but at least it's up. We get our check. We can move on to the next job. We're out of here for a while. It gives us a break to catch up on some other stuff. We can come back and we'll do the repairs. We'll rob from Peter to pay Paul. We'll, deal with the consequences later. It's just crazy. I've seen all of that stuff. Just, a lot of it was just them taking on too much work and not being able to get decent enough guys, and taking on too much work and not being able to get decent enough guys. And it was crazy. So, I feel like I could do a little bit better of that, but is that where I'm best useful at? I don't know. Anyways, I'm rambling on. This went way too long. I doubt anyone's even listening to this. So that's a little bit about me anyways. If you got any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. There's a lot more about me, but a lot of it's, maybe some of it was even in this video was too private. That's more or less my resume. There's a lot of other stuff too, like I get into. I did construction cleaning. I've got super into this solar stuff and this EV stuff, and there's just tons of stuff going on, researching all kinds of different stuff. I'm super interested in just being alive and learning everything about what makes this world go around. And there's so much out there. So you just get out there and find something. It's pretty easy to get something that for me, it's easy to find stuff that I'm passionate about, because there's so much of it, right? The hard part for me is focusing on one thing, and finding time and getting overwhelmed with it. It's like there's so many opportunities that I've got just sitting out in my yard from like scrap stuff that I've picked up that has so much potential. And now I'm starting to be a little bit of a junk collector. I'm trying to get stuff processed to where, even if I'm not going to use it, then I got to sell it, right? Like at least make a profit off some of this stuff that I'm finding and fixing up. And I'm getting some of this stuff moved out of here now. Even if I've not got to make a profit on it, just, sometimes I don't like doing jobs for free, but sometimes it's nice if it's somebody that I like to get some of this stuff out there just for promotion, right? Like I don't like doing it for people I don't know or that I don't care for, or I'm not advertising it. But for friends and family or whatnot, I'll do jobs at a loss or for free, or just to and it gets me a little bit of promotion, and people see that, and you can get a little bit of work from that. But I don't really want to be in residential anyways, and unless I get back into that super high-end masonry that I was doing before. But I'm sure that comes with its own can of worms, right? I know that wasn't always the most perfect situation. But anyways, we're going to wrap this up. So I hope everyone out there is doing well, and we'll see you around.